Welcome to Founders Corner. This show is all about sharing impactful lessons for entrepreneurs from brilliant minds who have lived and learned through the startup journey and built amazing companies. This podcast is from Omidyar Network's emerging technology team, who invest in early-stage startups that aim to build great for-profit businesses that can change the world and create impact at scale. On today's show, we'll hear from Andy Rachleff. Andy is the CEO and co-founder of Wealthfront, a company that is dedicated to democratizing access to investments. Andy has incredible advice for any entrepreneur and any startup who is looking to scale, looking to hire, and he's also got some just really great business advice that he's built up over the years that he's going to share with you. So let's get started with our host and Omidyar Network partner, Shripriya Mahesh, and Andy. Enjoy the conversation.
Andy, thank you so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
I would love to learn how you came up with the idea for Wealthfront.
Well, it was really accidental. I had retired from Benchmark in 2005 after about a 25-year career in venture capital. And I decided to spend my time giving back. So I have a life well beyond anything that I ever deserved, and I owe a lot of that to the schools that I went to. So I decided to teach at my grad school alma mater, Stanford, to go on the board of trustees at my undergrad school alma mater, University of Pennsylvania. And my wife and I started funding an innovative cancer research foundation or initiative. And part of my responsibilities as a Penn trustee is to sit on their endowment investment committee. We, I think, manage something like the 7th largest endowment in the United States now. And the premier university endowments are probably the best managed large pools of capital in the world. And one day I was sitting in a presentation from the investment team talking about how they generate their great returns. And I don't know why, but something just hit me. And that was, over the years, I had recruited a lot of people to my portfolio companies who had gone on to financial success, who would then come to me for investment advice. And I could never tell them to do what I do because they couldn't afford the minimums that I'm fortunate enough to be able to access for the best investment products and services. And the endowment managed their money with a bunch of arcane tools and spreadsheets. And it just struck me that there had been a number of advancements in application programming interfaces and software, that if they did what they did in software, you could do an 80-20 on what the endowments do, thereby solving this problem of these people who came to me for investment advice. So I thought, well, if I were to do this, it would be a social good. So it fit in with everything else that I was doing. And if I had any idea how difficult it was going to be, I never would have done it. So it started off as a hobby and it turned into a business.
Tell me a little bit about the original idea and what you pivoted towards.
Well, the original idea was a marketplace of outstanding investment managers who were selected based on the same methodology the Ivy endowments use to identify managers who are likely to outperform the market. So if you were to come to our old business, which was called Ka-Ching, you could find an investment manager who was likely to outperform the market over a long period of time. And that only solved a portion of people's investment products because it was only applicable to their U.S. stock allocation, which is typically about a third of what most people should have. And it didn't solve the rest. So it was inconvenient to split your money up to try to solve your investment problem. People would say to us, yeah, but can you also manage my bonds? And we'd say no. And they'd say, oh.
Right.
So what we learned as we dug in is that they would rather have all of their money managed adequately and inexpensively than a portion of it superbly. And when we made that change, the business started to take off. And over time, what we've done is use software to take features that were traditionally only available to the very wealthy through private wealth managers and offer them to the masses, thereby democratizing access to sophisticated financial advice, which is the social good that I originally intended.
No, I mean, I think it's very much kind of the future of money management, if you will.
I hope so.
Yeah. How invested are entrepreneurs in their original idea versus kind of seeing where things are?
I think most entrepreneurs can't make the transition. I think they believe they were right. That's why they started their company. I believe the market is always right.
Yeah.
And the market knows a lot better than any of us.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why this whole lean startup movement has been so incredibly successful, because it offers a methodology that helps you figure that out much more quickly.
Yeah.
I think Steve Blank initially and then Eric Ries as his interpreter have done an amazing job helping people appreciate that the market is much more important than you and your idea, and how you iterate to what the market wants.
Yeah. In terms of, you did that, you led Wealthfront, you got it to a great place, and then you stepped out for a while, and now you're back. Talk to me a little bit about like why, and are you approaching things differently the second time around as CEO?
This time around, I'm actually leading in a different way. So I think a leader needs to think a lot about a style that is authentic to them. And the first time around, I was only running a company of 17 or 20 people. This time around, we have 140.
Wow.
And what I've come to realize is I love teaching. It's really my great joy. I've been doing it for 12 years now at Stanford Graduate School of Business. And what I've come to do is embrace that love of teaching, and I've decided to lead through teaching. And I made this decision because I noticed when I was most effective with our team. And that was when I taught and gave them context and allowed them to make the decisions. But they couldn't make good decisions if they didn't have enough context.
Right.
So I really, really try to focus on being the best teacher I can be.
And is that teaching style, which sounds great, is that more to give them more and more authority, so over time, when they have learned and with the context, that you can actually step back more?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how you build a scalable company, as you well know.
Yeah.
If the CEO makes all of the decisions, as many people mistakenly think is the case, then the company can't scale.
Yeah. In terms of hiring, the first time you started at 0, you got to 17, and now you're dealing with a much larger firm.
We actually got up to 27, and then we pivoted and reduced down to 17.
Wow. So what advice would you give entrepreneurs on hiring their first, let's say 5 and then 20 versus their next set once they're larger?
The thing that I didn't understand, and it's really silly of me to have missed this, is that before you get product market fit, you are really limited in terms of the quality of the people you can attract. Think about it. If you have a choice, Shripriya, of joining my company before product market fit or another company post product market fit, it'd show really poor judgment to join my company, because the amount of extra equity you're going to get from joining my company in no way compensates you for that extra risk.
Yeah.
If you're a founder, it might, but if you're just one of the employees, even a senior employee, it doesn't compensate you. So the point that I've come around to, or the point of view that I've come around to, is you hire the best people you can and then you upgrade. And every once in a while, you're going to find a gem, a hidden gem. But that's more luck than anything else. And you look for people who are really driven by the mission of the business. They just love what you're doing.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, you get a star to join you because they love the mission or the strategy. But more often than not, you can't attract the stars until you have that product market fit.
So looking back, given your just varied experiences, what's the single piece of advice you would give an entrepreneur?
My 2 favorites are both controversial. The first one is always put the gun in the other person's hand. So I've learned this from my partner, who's been the biggest influence on my professional life, Bruce Dunleavy, who is, from my perspective, the best venture capitalist around. Bruce lives by a philosophy of always putting the gun in the other person's hand. If they shoot, you just don't work with them anymore. So in a negotiation with an entrepreneur, he would say, You tell me what's the fair price and I'll do it.
Wow.
Literally.
Wow. Okay.
Now, if the entrepreneur was a good person, they would feel the pressure of that. And more often than not, they would ask for a lower price than they otherwise might. If the entrepreneur was a bad person, they'd try to take advantage of it. And Bruce would say, I'm sorry, you're not the kind of person I want to work with.
That's a really interesting philosophy, actually.
Now, and I do it in everything I do.
Huh.
I do it in business development deals. I do it in investing. I do it in hiring. If someone tries to take advantage, by the way, if they ask for 20% above market, it's not going to make a difference.
Right.
But think of the goodwill that you create by doing that.
Yeah.
So I sleep a lot better and I attract better people around me and everyone's happier. But it's not the way most people
And it very
live.
quickly tells you about the other person in
Very
ways that
quickly.
you wouldn't otherwise. It could take you years to figure out.
And the other one, I learned from another one of my partners at Benchmark, Dave Byrne, which was you always have to try to create a fear of loss. So fear of loss is a much greater motivator than joy of gain. There was actually a Nobel Prize awarded for this insight. And what Dave observed, Dave, before he became a venture capitalist, was the world's greatest executive recruiter. He recruited some of the most famous CEOs, including Meg Whitman, to eBay and Jim Barksdale to Netscape. Well, as a recruiter, what Dave learned was that people never join companies out of opportunity. They join because they think they're going to lose the chance to join.
Missing the seat on the rocket ship.
Missing the seat on the rocket ship.
Yeah.
So what he learned was that in order to recruit the best candidates, he had to create this fear that they were going to lose the chance. And by doing that, he was able to close them. No fear, no close. And this is applicable to every deal. It's applicable to corporate partnerships. It's applicable to even a traditional sale to a customer. Yeah. And so in everything I do, I ask my team, where's the fear of loss? Because if there's no fear of loss, we have no hope of closing the partnership.
Right. Oh, I like that one too. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Andy, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. This was super fun and
You're
enjoyable.
very welcome.
Thank you.
That was the conversation with Omidyar Network partner Shripriya Mahesh and our guest Andy Rachleff, the CEO and co-founder of Wealthfront. Thanks so much for listening, and special thanks to Andy for all of your insights. You can learn more about Wealthfront at their website, wealthfront.com, and you can follow Andy on Twitter at ARACHLEFF. If you enjoyed this episode, please head over to iTunes and write a review, and let us know what you think on Twitter at Omidyar Network. Be sure to subscribe and visit our website, omidyar.com, where you can learn more about the emerging technology team. Thanks for listening to Founders Corner, and we'll see you next time.